Byron's new book, Obsession, details this. Do you believe if that had not happened, we would have responded better to the Wuhan virus?
Hugh, there's no doubt that in December and January, Washington was consumed with that partisan impeachment trial. I can tell you, as someone who was trying to sound the alarm as early as mid-January, most senators, both parties, and most congressmen kind of looked at me with a curious stare in their face. This is not something about which they had heard. So you're probably right that if we had not been focused on that party line impeachment vote and trial, then we might have had a little more bandwidth among some people in Washington and in the media to focus on what was happening in Wuhan in December and early January.
I think when people finish reading Byron's book, Obsession, they're just really going to reconsider Colonel Vindman's testimony. A brave American soldier, no doubt about it, Purple Heart, but I think a very, very terrible miscalculation of judgment. Now, Senator Cotton, yesterday in Pittsburgh, diners were assaulted again. The president tweeted about it this morning. That makes Rochester, Pittsburgh, Washington, D.C., of course, the unrest in Kenosha, the unrest in Portland. How long is this going to go on, and what is its impact on the election, in your opinion?
Well, Hugh, unfortunately, it's probably going to go on as long as these Democratic mayors and governors do not use the police in force, and if necessary, against the riots at nighttime, the National Guard, to deter this criminal behavior. And if the police are not allowed to arrest these criminals and prosecutors do not charge them with every crime they've committed until these criminals on the streets recognize there are consequences for their actions, they're going to continue to commit these crimes. Obviously, there's a difference between what we've seen in places like Portland and Kenosha in terms of the rioting, the arson, the looting, versus the mobs who have accosted diners on sidewalk cafes in Washington and Rochester and Pittsburgh. But I don't see how a city can allow those mobs to accost diners. Again, they did nothing wrong. I mean, it's not like they were even showing up to counter protest these criminals. They were just dining. They happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Hugh, it's been a long time since I practiced law, and you're the expert lawyer, but it seems to me that some of these incidents run pretty close to assault. Well, you had an aggressive prosecutor that wanted to defend public safety, they would start bringing assault charges.
I believe they are assault. At Michigan, I took crimes from Peter Weston, who's still teaching there. And it was, I can remember the definition, the imminent appearance of an unpermitted touching is an assault. And so if someone comes over, grabs your beer and looms over you, that's an assault. Battery is when you touch someone with an unpermitted touching. I don't know what they teach at Harvard Law. Do they even bother with crimes there? Everything's allowed, right?
Well, Hugh, I didn't realize that we were talking about people taking beer from one another. Now that takes it to a whole new level. Obviously, that's fighting. That's a fighting action right there.
So I just think that the country is looking at that and they're appalled at people who are not enforcing the law. And I can you imagine Little Rock allowing this?
Yeah, and we don't have to imagine what the Biden administration would do under such circumstances. They're not going to call for local police departments to be allowed to do their job, or they're not going to encourage governors to use the National Guard against rioters. They're going to spend their time harassing and even prosecuting police departments, because that's exactly what we saw in the Obama-Biden Department of Justice. They consistently blamed the police first. They required police to sign onerous consent decrees in federal court to limit policing tactics, and crime invariably went up in cities where the police were handcuffed by the Obama-Biden DOJ, to say nothing of their Democratic mayors. It's just one more reason why it's so important that we reelect the president. Only Donald Trump will stand up for law-abiding citizens and law enforcement. Joe Biden will stand with these mobs.
Let me ask you very quickly about Senator Harris. I think when she threw doubt on the vaccine, she did a terrible disservice to America. Everybody's got to be on the same page when a vaccine is approved, that people who are in risk groups take it. What were you shocked that she actually threw doubt? Because that's going to make it much more difficult to get people to become vaccinated.
It's very disappointing to see Senator Harris throw in with the anti-vaccine crowd. Look, the world's leading scientists and researchers are all racing to try to find a safe and effective vaccine for the coronavirus. And I am 100% confident that those world-class scientists and researchers, along with our public health agencies, will only put on the market a vaccine that is safe and effective.
Have you talked to Senator Harris yet about throwing in with the anti-vaxxers?
I have not. I've not been on her short call list over these last couple of days, Hugh, if you can imagine it. When she was up instead in Wisconsin, visiting a state that Democrats have generally stayed away from for the last 4 years, like Hillary Clinton did.
She will deny that she's thrown in with the anti-vaxxers, I'm sure, but I don't believe that's an inaccurate statement, Senator.
Well, not an accurate statement at all, Hugh. I mean, she has expressed doubt and skepticism about a vaccine that doesn't yet exist. And we don't know when it might exist, but when it does exist, it will be safe and effective because it will have gone through rigorous testing and trials.
Senator